Hello and welcome to a particularly action-packed 4th episode of Wrath of the Gods. This turn we'll be starting out with a new plane. This is a deployment, this is one of my deployments for this turn. It's an attacker. It's a KSA 9T, a further development of the already well-known and successful KSA 9K. We're flying towards two of the new Roman Empire's Ajax heavy battle tanks here, and we're hoping to bomb them, really. This has got increased payload, this carries bombs, whereas the 9K didn't. The 9T is more potent. It's also slightly more manoeuvrable, so should give us a little bit more of an edge when it comes to dodging anti-tank fire. Epic foreshadowing. Anyhow, continuing on here, I decided to try some dive bombing, because level bombing at 140 meters per second doesn't work all that well. I've tried it in testing and yeah, missed every single bomb. But I'm not going to have much luck dive bombing this episode. Well, not ground units at least. Because here we go, I'm diving in and trying to line it up, and I'm holding the button to drop the bomb, but nothing. It just doesn't drop. The trigger is armed, so it should have dropped, but it didn't, so I've had to go for a second run. And as we buzz off, we can see that we are taking some fire from the Ajax heavy battle tanks, which could be problematic. I'm just going to put it like that. It could be worse, I guess. It gets worse. Anyhow, and now, see, I had to cut there because I was looking at one of the Ajax tanks because they stopped firing at me at a certain range, and I thought they had a longer range gun than that. Turns out that they just hadn't had their weapons manager quite correctly configured. I fix that later for the tank battle, but I can't really do it in the middle of a bombing run. And you'll notice a lot of times through this video today that it just freezes occasionally. The computer's just being especially slow at the moment, seeing as it's only a little old laptop and I'm running quite a high intensity game. It's not always going to be optimal viewing, but I'm doing what I can, really. No, bomb out towards that Ajax, but no source. And I think I'll rush this next one a little bit, this next one, as I pulled a pretty cool manoeuvre. I think it was pretty cool. You don't have to agree with me. And as we come up, I decide that we want to try and loop over the top, see how tight this can turn. A hammerhead turn, we call it. And as we come down towards this tank, lining up the bomb, trying to get everything on target, and there we go, releasing bomb, and guess what? Guess what happens with this bomb? That's right, it misses. Woo! You can tell I'm getting good at this. Anyhow, at this point we've got a 40mm cannon in the nose with 50 rounds, so I figure may as well use that and do some damage. So we come around and we start lining up for an attack run on that Ajax. And we've lined up perfectly well. We're flying in straight and true and level, and we're not making any evasive maneuvers, and the shells are getting closer and closer. Fire off 3 shots, I think, but then disaster strikes and the Ajax catches our tail. Well, so much for the brand new spanking, more manoeuvrable. Oh well. As I was surprised though, this was incredibly stable like this. I could have flown it back to base, but it's gone. It's wrecked. There's no repairing this. This is a destroyed airplane. So I just decided to try and ditch it in the sea and save poor Lindsay's life. And already this video is off to a bad start for me. I don't even think we damaged one of the Ajax tanks. The 40mm rounds did something. I'm pretty sure I saw explosions, but I don't know if that was hits or just me bouncing off right next to on the ground right next to it. These are high explosive rounds, so they would make that explosion when they hit the floor. We're just slowly dropping this aircraft into the ocean so the pilot can survive. Gonna get her out and see if we can jump off the wing or something stupid. It's better than knocking yourself out and sinking into the ocean. So here we go, and oh no, jump. Oh, well, Lindsay, I think she's dead. Anyhow, now because I have some tanks that I want to move up towards the two Ajax positions, I need to eliminate some potential air support that the enemy could give. So my 5 carrier fighters, the spuds I've called them, they are, I hadn't really done much testing on them. I just needed something small that was powerful and could get off a carrier, and they work fairly well. And we're lining up. Oh, look at that, there we go. Oh, got a little accident there, but the rule is if it crashes then we can recover it and fix it, and seeing as that's just a destroyed engine, probably have parts for that back on the carrier, so that Kerbin is going to be sitting tight in his little floating airplane for a bit, but he will be fine and he'll be used next turn as well, hopefully. As I said earlier, I've done no real testing on these spuds. I have no idea what their combat characteristics are. I'm diving onto a base with flak. The enemy has has numerical advantage. Honestly, I thought this was going to go horrendously. I just wanted to see if I could take out the attackers and stop my tanks from being bombed to hell next turn. So we're coming in hot, and this was probably one of the best executed air attacks I've seen in this series. Last time it was a mess. The dogfighting was long and abysmal. My fighters couldn't turn with the Achilles, and instead what the spuds do is they wait just until the Achilles are above their dogfighting range, so they could start manoeuvring, and then they just rip 2 straight to pieces, just gone. The new fire effects, I think, are absolutely amazing when it comes to this sort of thing. There's 2 completely obliterated Achilles, and one of the Hectors not faring much better. There's an explosion in the background, and I switch over to check what that was soon. That explosion there, if you just heard, that's actually a Hector getting hit. I switch across the Hectors in a second and see what's happening. This one's landed, but as you can see, it's lost most of its wing and it's on fire. It's been hit by 30mm fire and it's down. This one I was trying to fix its tailplane so it would actually fly, but my computer was being a bit slow at the time and I didn't save this crew, so it didn't fight, but New Roman Empire can relaunch it next turn. Hey ho. That's what I was trying to get rid of. Isn't that just dandy? And the final Achilles is just completely and utterly outclassed at this point. There's 4 fighters, it's on its own, and it's just ripped to shreds. And that removes all of the enemy air cover for my my first ever aggressive tank-on-tank action in this series. Leading in with the KLM-2I on the left to get some spots off and see where the enemy are so I can move my tanks into a better position. We have to deactivate vessel labels for tank battles because otherwise you could just snipe from ridiculous ranges manually, and that's not fair. So we're moving it up to the ridge. We're going to crest the ridge and we're going to see if we can hit the enemy Ajax tanks. And this is not a close range battle. This is a very, very long range tank duel. And so it's not going to exactly be quick because they have to range, the shots go out and they go down and all over the place, and they have to account for all the different influences. And as you can see, we've made first contact with the Ajax and we've started firing. So we're going to bring up the next tank and put that in a position to support this one, and hopefully we can move on. We'll move this one up, and then we've got two other tanks we've still got close by in case these two aren't enough to deal with the Ajax tanks. There's a big hit goes into the first KLM-2I there though, and I was worried at this point. I thought that one had died. I thought it was eradicated, but an even bigger hit goes in here, and I know that that tank's now a lost cause. There's nothing I can do to save it, so sorry Lagerby, but doesn't look like you're getting out of this one. Thank you for your service, and I'll see you in the next life. That there is the first KA soldier killed in this war. And the tank is just completely and utterly annihilated. I have a screenshot of the wreckage. I might slide that in at some point, maybe at the end of this video, but it was just everywhere. That was not a happy tank. So I moved this one so that the enemy can't just, you know, basically look a little bit left. I forced him to recalculate all the firing parameters and everything, and I put it somewhere in the open, nice and easy to hit, you know. This was not a good move on my part, and yeah, I pay for it with that tank as well. And so this is the oldest tank in the fleet at the moment. It's a KLM-2I, or a KLM-2 even. KLM-2I is the new and improved version. You can tell which one's which by the flag and the rear wheels. If you look closely, there's a difference. But this KLM-2 is oldest in the fleet, and quite proud of their service so far. They haven't really let me down as such. They just kind of occasionally explode when time warp occurs. And that has been fixed with the KLM-2I. It's the main reason it's there. Although, I say fixed, there's been small occurrences, but it's a lot less frequent with the KLM-2I. So I'm quite happy with the next step up of this tank. Tears over the hill, gets a nice bit of air, and starts opening up on the Ajax in the rear. We're going to switch over to our next KLM-2I in a second. Come on, me. God, why am I so slow? There we go. Pushing this towards the edge of the... We're going to push this one up next to the KLM-2 and see if we can get some supporting fire in here. If you can read it, you'll realise that it's now 2 on 3. These two Ajaxes. I've noticed that none of my tanks are firing the second Ajax. I thought this was a bit odd, seeing as they automatically target tanks. So, after a little bit of investigation, I find the cause out, and after about 5 minutes of trying to poke around on this island, trying to find an angle which I can hit the next Ajax, I find that my tanks won't target it, because good old Lindsay in her KSA 9T, a 40mm round hit, penetrated and destroyed the crew capsule, meaning that that tank was combat ineffective at the start of this duel. So it was 4 against 1, and to the Ajax's credit, it's a tough tank, tough cookie, and it doesn't exactly spare my tanks, and it's already destroyed 1, and this one is now damaged. And as you can see, we're finally getting some hits in on it, and at this point, really, there's 3 of us concentrating fire on this one tank. It's over at this point. There is nothing that the Ajax can do. Might be able to take out 1 more tank, but it won't be able to change the course of this battle. And they're concentrating fire, a few more explosions, shells coming and going, and things are now getting pretty just same old. I would have moved this tank, but it's getting effective fire on it. If I move it, it has to re-aim. There we go, the last couple of big hits go in. High velocity 75mm shells will mess you up no matter what kind of tank you are. And so the heavy tank armour does not protect this Ajax, and it dies. Now, I don't have any more resistance in the south to deal with, so we're going to try and take out some of the fleet in the north. The fleet is a bit of a problem. Adam has definitely invested more points into actually combat capable warships. I've gone for a lot of carriers, so therefore the new Roman Empire, if it came to a slugging match with, cruiser on cruiser, they have 2 cruisers for my 1, which I am not comfortable with. So this attack is aiming to remove some of the cruisers from the equation, and later on I'll see if I can torpedo the Invictus, which is the battleship. But as you can tell, things don't exactly go according to plan. I love the fire effect though, it looks so cool. One of our dive bombers is already down, and for the price of nothing, it's missed its bomb, it doesn't even get near. So we've now got 3 bombs to take out 4 cruisers. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So unfortunately, we don't manage to completely eradicate the enemy's presence at sea. And seeing as he's in harbour, he can probably... Looking back, I probably shouldn't have removed one of the cruisers because it was damaged and it was listing, but it wasn't fully destroyed. So I think I'm going to let him relaunch 1. I think I'm going to let the new Roman Empire get that one back, because it's not exactly fair. I kind of removed it, even though it was still half battle worthy and could be repaired because it's in port. So, yeah. This bomb is the best bomb of the bunch. Easily. And this was... I thought that this was going to miss, but it doesn't. So the bomb's now out. Oh, there we go. And we're going to be pulling up hard as possible. I mean, hard as possible. This thing goes into a steep climb. This is now autopilot. I'm not doing any of this. And it's just trying to climb out of the range of the machine guns. But sadly, there is no escape. those 20mm flak feelings are absolutely lethal at any range lower than 2,000 meters. You're within 2 kilometers of those flak veilings and there's more than one, God help your soul, because you are going to be in a lot of pain. And now we're rolling in with the third of our dive bombers, as you can see, lining up for the attack. It's not really working out all too well for me, is it? Bombs away, and so we move on. I don't know if that bomb was going to hit. I just dropped and got out there and tried to get him away, and yet again he goes into a steep climb and is absolutely decimated by the 20mm fire. But that cruiser does get destroyed. It hits it amidship, destroys its crew capsule, and that ship is going to sink to the bottom of the ocean. RIP. And now the third and final target, and we are going to be dropping this bomb onto a cruiser that was in the way. It needed to be moved. This cruiser, I don't get a direct hit, but I take off some armor panel and it starts to list quite heavily, and I decided, yeah, that's good enough. But I've realised looking back that wasn't really fair, so New Roman Empire is definitely going to get to relaunch this ship next turn. I just kind of dropped the bomb from here because I want some survivors of this raid. And so we hard GTFO and RTB. You can see the bomb goes in, but I don't know if I actually caught the recording of the explosion. Maybe I wasn't looking at the time, but it was just kind of a little, and there we go. That took off some side panel armour and it started to list heavily to port, and it was really in fighting shape. Now I'm coming in with my torpedo bombers, which is a successful venture. Already one is dead, and we are moving on to the next one. This one did better, I guess. Well, it gets its torpedo off at least. The Invictus is there, and I'm just trying to get my torpedo off before I get ripped apart by that 20mm fire. So the torpedo is gone, and I tried to pull up, but it's just too late, and this plane is absolutely gone. Come on, Bobman, get out. Bobman, bail. Bobman, do it. Let go. Jump. You've got so much to live for. Don't crash. You can survive. And Bobman hits the water and survives. However, he is now in enemy hands, a prisoner of war. Torpedo comes in, and I realised, I thought the flak is still firing, but we made the torpedoes in this modpack are invincible to anti-aircraft fire, because in the earlier versions of this modpack, bombs would get shot down really easily, so bombs and torpedoes got their heat resistance ramped up. And so instead of him wasting ammo on this, I just switch off the guns so he's not rinsing ammo. The torpedo comes in and it slams into the Invictus and does a grand total damage of absolutely zilch. Great. So, to reinforce our efforts in the north, seeing as we're not attacking this turn, I've launched a new super heavy tank, and we'll see that next turn. 3 fighters and a light tank AA4. that's really all I've got for this episode. I guess thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time when we will be once again handing it to the new Roman Empire.